potential code changes related to some code enforcement. I think both Josh and Lisa from the Community Development and Code Enforcement Department are presenting, so hand it on to you guys.
Thank you. So before we get into tonight's presentation, I just want to take a moment to formally introduce to the town board our code enforcement officer, Justo Santiago. He joined our team in October of 2024 and was previously the code enforcement officer for the town of Carrington. I'd also like to just go through a brief recap of some recent history of our efforts to kind of strengthen our property maintenance code. We first came to the board in the fall of 2022, alerting the board to some issues with our code in regards to property maintenance and a lack of applicable provisions that would help us to tackle some of these problem properties. So we did have a subsequent presentation in February of 2023 explaining what our proposed property maintenance code would look like, and we ultimately held a public hearing in April, and the board ultimately did adopt that property maintenance chapter. We did have a subsequent appearance last summer in July of 2024, where we came back to the board for a modification to the language dealing with penalties for offenses. And with Justo now on board, and the nature of some of the complaints that we've been getting lately, we found more holes, if you will, or lack of tools to address certain issues. So that is what tonight's presentation will cover. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Justo.
Good evening, my name is Justo. So today I'm presenting the several subjects, the code enforcement procedure. That's going to be a new chapter, is explaining basically what I do from the moment I receive the complaint till the end. Also the vehicle storage is going to be just an addition. Also on-street parking restrictions, portable storage containers and roll-off dumpsters and vacant properties. Those are going to be additions to the town code.
Yeah, so tonight is our first meeting to do the initial presentation of the code updates. We would like to follow up, probably not at the next town board meeting, most likely at the May 1st meeting, to allow enough time for both the board and the public to review the proposed changes, provide feedback, and then once we finalize that, we will come back for a potential vote on proposed amendments.
So for the code enforcement procedure, this is going to be a new chapter. Like I was saying, it's going to explain from when we receive a complaint, either online, email, staff observation, and etc., phone call. And so this is going to explain, as soon as I receive the complaint, a site inspection is going to be conducted to confirm if reported violation exists. So I'm going to go out there, take some photos, if the violation exists. If not, there's no violation, and I can just close the case. But if there is a code violation, then that's where the code enforcement procedure begins. First step is going to be the violation letter. It's going to be initial, just correspondence and alerting the property owner to a violation. That one's just going to be the first step. It's going to show the code violations that they have, the time I actually observed the violation, and just notifying the owner. Sometimes they'll respond to the code violation letter, and then I can just address to them what has to be addressed and be in compliance with the town. If I don't receive a response, that's where the notice and order And that's gonna be basically a compliance letter stating a certain time and date, or a date that has to be complied by. That's going to be the next step. After that, if nothing's been done, it's going to go to the appearance ticket. That's going to be a set date and time with the town court. And after that, it's going to be the court hearing once everything goes through.
So just to clarify, this is currently not included in our code, so we're looking to just codify what our current policy and procedure is.
So this is an example of the violation letter. It's going to have the owner's address, the case number, as soon as we receive that complaint, the relevant code section, and the description of the violation and the corrective action. So as you can see on this letter, the corrective action is going to indicate what they have to do to be in compliance. This is going to be the second step. Once I don't receive the response or they don't comply by a certain time frame, it's going to be the same thing, owner's address, the case number, relevant code, but this time it's going to have a reasonable time period for the compliance. And on this letter also, there are going to be the potential fines and penalties for non-compliance. It's going to be on the second page. The first page is going to be more of a description of the violation and the penalties, and also the corrected by date is going to be listed on there. And after they don't comply by the notice and order, the appearance ticket is going to be the last step. This is going to show the owner's address, the violation code section, and also the date and time for the court hearing. It's going to show all the code section that they violated, and the date that they violated the violation. So to add on to the town code, the vehicle storage, I've been receiving numerous calls and emails in regards to abandoned, uninspected, unlicensed, inoperable, discarded, or junk vehicles on the property. Also, for the outside storage, we want to strengthen the outside storage for recreational vehicles, and also for commercial vehicles and construction vehicles on the property. Also, the outside parking for storage and licensed vehicle, it doesn't specify or have enough detail in regards to licensed vehicles. Sometimes they'll be parked on the front lawn, or in the rear of the property, or even on the side of the property. And also on storage on vacant properties. There's numerous vehicles on vacant properties, like unlicensed, licensed, and this is just going to strengthen the code. That way, instead of having, like on the picture at the top right, it's going to show multiple recreational vehicles that's being stored on the property. In a smaller neighborhood, it's going to control the amount of recreational vehicles that the owner can have. There could be exemptions in regards to if you have a larger lot or more acreage on your property, there's going to be exemptions in regards to that. The next one is going to be the on-street parking restriction. This is also going to be an add-on. No person shall park a motor vehicle within the cul-de-sac unless said vehicle is parallel to and immediately adjacent to the gutter. I've received phone calls from Highway Department and also Transportation for school buses, and there's a vehicle parked in the middle of the cul-de-sac, and it's just making it hard for them to turn around. Also, safety for children playing in the cul-de-sac. I'm just receiving multiple phone calls in regards to that, and there, in the code section, it doesn't specify also for cul-de-sac parking. There is parking restrictions between a certain time, November 1st to April 1st, that's when there's a parking restriction, and that's pretty much it. So it's just in addition and strengthening the town code. Also, portable storage containers and also the roll-off dumpsters. It's just going to be an addition to the roll-off dumpsters to the existing portable storage containers. This one is just going to regulate the total number of days on the property location, and the permit will continue to be required. So the only addition to the town code is just going to be the roll-off dumpsters. Some properties have roll-off dumpsters, and they're going to have them there for several months, and there's no permit required for the roll-off dumpsters. There's a permit that is required for the portable storage containers, but nothing for dumpsters. I know there's several properties that have these roll-off dumpsters, and they don't even have a permit on the property for any addition. They just have them there for a number of weeks, months, and this is just going to control the dumpsters on the property. The new subsection for vacant properties is going to define the vacant properties, also the secure and routine monitoring of the vacant properties, so that way I can go onto the property, inspect it for open or secure. Sometimes there's properties that are open and I can't go onto the property and actually check to see if there's a door open in the rear of the property or even on the side of the property, see it for the right of way. Also, this is going to take more photos to check the rear yard of the property for vacant properties. That way we can do more of an inspection for combustible waste materials, overgrowth for grass, unabandoned or unlicensed vehicles. And then there's exceptions, vacant lots and developed areas and agricultural lands. And that would sum it up. So we're just going to be awaiting for legal reviews, feedbacks, and town board resolutions to set up a public hearing, hold public hearing, make final edits, and adopt into the town code. And this is going to continue to aid staff in addressing resident concerns.
Thanks, Husto and Josh. Any questions or comments from the board?
No. You, the only question I had was on your answer on your last slide, so good job, thanks. So you feel that this will give us a stronger standing should we have to go to court, is that correct?
Yes, that is
I
correct.
know we've had some issues in the past.
And that new process that Husko described is a culmination of a lot of the discussions that we've had with our legal team in an attempt to shore up the whole court paperwork process. So we'd like to get that, as I mentioned earlier, into our code so there's no ambiguity on what our official process is.
Now, I don't know, this next question, I know, Kyle, I assume you will be reviewing these?
Yeah, the draft of the code, I'll work. Have you sent that over to John yet?
I don't believe so.
Okay, I just noted that you said you were waiting, just wasn't sure if it was with us yet. Okay.
We just finished the final edits earlier this week, so we will certainly get that out to everybody.
Okay, yeah, if you want to send it to both of us, I'll be reviewing it.
Okay, thanks.
We'll also be posting it on our website so that the public has an opportunity to review, and then hopefully we'll receive some feedback at the public hearing and go from there.
So what does the current permitting of a dumpster consist of?
A dumpster or a portable storage
Roll
container?
off.
Well, I think right now our code is essentially silent on roll-off dumpsters.
So I will assume that if I want to get a dumpster for my house to get rid of a bunch of debris, right?
Right.
Now I have to get a permit and pay money for it?
If it's going to be there for an extended period of time, I believe if we're mirroring the portable storage container regulations and we're just adding the roll-off dumpster into that, there are certain provisions where you will not need to get a permit. For example, if you have an active building permit and you're doing a renovation project that requires storing of materials and tools, you do not have to get an additional permit to have the storage container. But they are limited because we certainly have some properties where these things have been there for months or years. So we're trying to curtail that from happening.
I'm raising this because to rent a roll-off or dumpster, or whatever you want, it's very expensive. Now we're going to tack on more money for a permit.
Yeah, I think the cost is minimal. I think it's maybe $10 or $20 for a
Okay.
permit. But again, it's to ensure that we have some control over these things not lingering and
Right.
being there for too long. Currently, you're allowed to have, a permit gives you up to 6 months to keep it on your property, and you're also allowed to renew it for a 3-month period after that.
I assume you can't store it in the street.
That is correct.
Okay.
Or on the grass, it needs to be placed on the driveway most of the time, I believe.
So if it's your own property, okay, and I'm gonna pay $400 to $500 for a roll-off, why does the town care whether I put it in the driveway or the front yard?
Well, I think that it's just a matter of keeping a neat and orderly appearance in our residential neighborhoods. I think that it's a pretty common requirement in municipalities. You don't want things just haphazardly all over the yard.
I also think it's a requirement of the roll-off company, because they've got to be able to drive the truck up to drop it off and
Sure, but
be able to pull it out,
A
so.
lot of these companies have pads where if you don't have a wide enough driveway, there are pads that you put down for it. So it doesn't incur the damage. All right, I'm just going down a rabbit hole, we'll talk about this later.
I mean,
Thank you,
I think
guys.
it's important to make the changes, but there's.
I agree.
I think it's fantastic, and being able to enforce some of these things is important, but at the same time, you don't want to penalize people who are doing the right things.
Correct.
So say you're getting your house remodeled and you just have like a short period where that dumpster's gonna be there because it's just, demo day or a week. Do you have to get a permit for a week, or is it just if it's a longer period of time?
We have the ability to use some discretion.
Okay.
We do. I mean, there have been instances where Husto has reached out to a property owner and they've said, oh, I was just cleaning out my basement, it'll be gone by tomorrow. We're not gonna open up a case and fine them and pursue something like that. It's really just for the folks that refuse to comply.
I understand, that makes sense. That makes sense, thank you.
Josh, so the only thing I would ask is that you get with Bridget, I think, uploads to the website on page 2. Meeting number 2 would be made first,
Yes, we're gonna make that
and then
change.
meeting 3 would be the earliest
Subsequent to
date.
that. Correct.
Good. Just so anybody who pulls this down has the right.
Right. No, we're gonna make that correction.
Great.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right, thanks.